AITA for refusing to let my mom move in after she sold her house to travel. I, 29M, was raised by my mom, 54F, as a single parent. She had me when she was very young, and while I love her, she was never the most responsible person. Growing up, my mom had this follow your heart mentality, and while that might sound romantic in movies, in real life it meant a lot of instability for me. She was impulsive. She'd quit jobs because she felt trapped, even if we were already struggling financially. She'd spend money on experiences rather than necessities, always convinced that things would work out somehow. Spoiler alert, they usually didn't. By the time I was a teenager, I had learned that I couldn't really depend on her. If I wanted stability, I had to create it myself. I got my first job at 15, started saving every penny, and worked my ass off to make sure I'd never be in a situation where I had to rely on someone else the way I had relied on my mom. So when I finally went to college, I felt like I was escaping a life of constant uncertainty. Meanwhile, my mom had other plans. About 5 years ago, when I was finishing college, my mom decided she was tired of being tied down. She wanted to travel. She wanted freedom. And, in her words, she had spent too much of her life being responsible, which is debatable. And now she deserved to live. Her solution? Sell her house, which she had inherited from my grandparents, quit her job, and travel the world. I remember that conversation vividly. I asked her, "What happens when the money runs out?" She laughed and said, "That's future me's problem." I begged her to reconsider. I told her she could travel while still maintaining some form of financial stability. I even suggested she rent out the house instead of selling it, so she'd always have something to fall back on. But she wouldn't listen. She was dead set on the idea that she was going to live life to the fullest, and nothing was going to stop her. Family members tried to reason with her too, but she dismissed them all, saying they were just scared of taking risks. So, she sold everything and left. For the next few years, her social media was filled with pictures of exotic locations. Sunsets in Bali, yoga retreats in India, wine tastings in France. She posted inspirational quotes about living in the moment and how happiness was worth more than financial security. I stopped bringing up money because every time I did, she brushed it off. "Everything always works out," she'd say. "I'll figure something out when the time comes." Well, the time has come. A few months ago, my phone rang. It was my mom, and from the second I picked up, I could hear the anxiety in her voice. At first, she tried to make small talk, asking about my job, my fiancé, 28F, and our new house. But then she finally got to the point. She was broke. Not just tight on money. Completely broke. Her savings were gone. She had no income, no retirement fund, and no backup plan. She had burned through everything in 5 years, and now she had nowhere to go. She needed a place to stay. Specifically, she needed to move in with me and my fiancé. She assured me it would be temporary, just until I get back on my feet. But she couldn't tell me how long that would be, or what exactly she planned to do next. Here's the problem. My fiancé and I just bought our first home. It's a small 2-bedroom house. We barely have space as it is, and we both work remotely, meaning our second bedroom is our shared office. We're also planning our wedding and trying to start our own life together. The idea of my mom moving in indefinitely, it felt like a nightmare. I told her, "Mom, I love you, but we don't have the space. I can help financially, I can cover rent for a cheap apartment for a little while, but I can't have you move in." She immediately got upset. She said I was selfish, that she had sacrificed everything for me, and now I was abandoning her in her time of need. That family helps family, and I was treating her like a stranger. I reminded her, calmly, but firmly, that she had chosen this life, that she had been warned over and over that this would happen, that she had laughed when I asked what she'd do when the money ran out. Her response? "I thought you'd be different. I thought you'd actually care." That one hit me hard. She started crying, telling me I didn't understand how scary it was to be alone and broke at her age. And I do get it. I do understand that she's scared, that she feels like she has nothing, and that part makes me feel guilty. But at the same time, I've spent my whole life cleaning up after her choices, and I can't do it anymore. Since that conversation, other family members have gotten involved. I've gotten messages from aunts, uncles, and cousins telling me I'm being heartless, that she's my mother, and I owe her for everything she did for me. A few have even said, "You wouldn't have anything if it weren't for her." What's interesting though? Not one of them has offered to take her in. When I asked, "If you're so concerned, why don't you let her stay with you?" they all suddenly had excuses. "We don't have the space. We have our own families to take care of. It's different for you. You're her son." So let me get this straight. I'm selfish for not appending my life for her, but none of them are willing to either? My fiancé has been 100% supportive of my decision, but I can tell she feels bad about it too. She's seen me struggle with the guilt, the stress, the pressure from family. I hate that my mom is in this situation. I hate that she's struggling. But I also hate that she's trying to guilt-trip me into saving her from her own reckless choices. So, Reddit, AITA?